Welcome to the Sherri Johnson Show, the podcast for real estate agents who are ready to stop chasing their next deal and start building a business that provides predictable and consistent monthly income to even double or even triple your income and sales production in less than a year. I'm Sherri Johnson, international real estate coach, speaker, consultant, and the creator of the exclusive Goldmine Pipeline strategy that's helped thousands of agents add over 6 figures to even 7 figures to their bottom line. If you're ready to generate more leads, crush your income goals, and finally play the long game, you're in the right place. Let's dig in. All right, welcome back. I'm Sherri Johnson of the Sherri Johnson Show podcast. And today's guest, I'm so excited, everybody, because this guy has over 25 years of real estate experience at multiple levels as an agent, as the grandson and son of a real estate broker. He's got experience running teams. He's got experience running huge brokerages. And I have Brent Conley with me today. Hi, Brent.
Hi, Sherri. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh, it's such a privilege. And wow, I've gotten to know you now almost 2 years. And I'm just really excited because today you're going to share a lot with our audience that I think, A, they need to hear, and B, real value that they can implement into their businesses. I'd love for you to start by just sharing like how you got into this business. I know your grandfather was a broker, your dad was a broker. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the business. Were you putting up signs and doing lock boxes? I'm just curious.
So I was stuffing envelopes at 8 years old. I was farming neighborhoods for my dad in Huntington Beach, California. At a young age, he was paying me 10 cents a house. And so we'd go on Saturdays farming neighborhoods for him. And so that's kind of the entry point of the business. My grandparents were both agents in Victorville, California. And they did a little bit of business up there. And then I took a totally different route after high school. I was in community college, and I was working at a trucking company, and I wanted to build my own trucking company. So eventually I started doing that. I owned a trucking company with a partner, and I had 7 trucks. We had a logistics brokerage as well. And I did some over the road driving and stuff, and had fun with that for about a year. And then it turned into a massive amount of work, and I hated my life. And I said, you know what? My dad's got a great life. I'm gonna go get my real estate license and sell real estate. And this is I was in Arizona at the time. My dad was in California. And so I ended up getting my real estate license, and I was working locally, and ended up taking 8 months to sell my first house. And after that, ended up getting going after right about the 2-year mark, right? It takes a couple of years to figure it out a lot of times. And I wasn't on a team. Teams weren't that prevalent at the time. And so it took me a little bit longer than most, even though I had some guidance. And so when I was working in order to get into the business, I was driving a truck at middle of the night. I'd go to work at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd break the freight. I'd palletize my load to deliver the auto parts into all the dealerships in the Phoenix area. And then I'd do that as fast as I possibly could, so I could take a bird bath and change clothes, in the bathroom there at the dock. And then I'd go door knocking. And so that's how I got into real estate. It was a tough scenario at the time. I was still paying off some debt and all of that. So that's how I got into real estate.
I love it. And 10 cents a house, that is awesome. I love that. That is so good.
Which it still works today, right? Farming, like if somebody was going to be farming, door to door and getting into the mix with people face to face, that is going to do so many people a lot of good for their business. And, month in and month out, if you were farming and sending mailers and going to the door with comps, and we use notepads, which very few people use notepads. But if you think about it, there's 25 to 29 pieces of paper in a notepad. And if you're delivering that, people still take handwritten notes, and they're still write down grocery lists, they'll write down phone numbers, and they're seeing your brand on top. And so I'm a big contributor to anybody that I'm coaching. If they're farming a neighborhood, you've got to go into that part of the marketing and add that to your system. And that way, when they rip off the notepad, they see your face again. They're seeing your brand again. You got your phone number. And so here's the other kicker is when somebody loses their job, when they are time to downsize the house, when the credit card bills get too much, they can't refi, they pulled out, but they've got a little bit of equity in there and they want to sell that house. They're going to say, hey, who's that guy on the notepad? Who's that gal on the notepad? Let's call her to sell the house. Let's call him to sell the house. And so the notepad monthly is a huge advantage for anybody out there. So write that down.
I love the notepad idea. And you're right, people use them. People are still taking handwritten notes. They're seeing your name and they're seeing it constantly. And what he said, and what I think is so rings true, is that when the time comes when they need someone for whatever the case may be, losing a job, need to sell, whatever, they're going to say, where's that notepad? There's a guy in that notepad. That is so good. You reminded me, I did calendars every year, but not the refrigerator ones. Mine was like a thin calendar that was it wasn't quite the size of a piece of paper, but like everyone loved them. And even after I got into leadership and management, and I just still send out like 200 of these things. And a friend of mine just asked me the other day, she said, where are those calendars? Can you start doing those again? So I'm actually going to do it. I just wrote it down, and you should too. If you're listening right now, we're talking to you. These things work. Canvassing neighborhoods and going door to door and meeting people is the fastest way to a yes face to face. It's awesome.
And let me add to that while we're on this topic, just real quick, Sherri, is I want somebody, if you're watching this right now, write down the words omnipresence. So if you're farming a neighborhood and you use notepads, you're using just sold, just listed postcards, maybe a pending postcard because you just sold something in there, or you're trying to break into that farm and you're going to visit the FSBO, you're going to visit the expired or door knock the expired or prospect them somehow. And then you're backing up with phone calls. And then your online marketing, maybe you have a neighborhood Facebook group. And then maybe you're in the neighborhood.com or whatever that website is that everybody complains around, and so think about omnipresence. How can I overtake the neighborhood with my marketing material, my presence online and in person? And so that is a recipe for success. Every single neighborhood, think about that. Implement.
Take over the neighborhood with omnipresence is fabulous. I love it. These things work. That's why we still do them. I love this. So you did that. You door knock. You literally grew up in the business. I know there came a point you owned. You were at several different brands, different models. At a certain point, you had an independent company. I know you had about 420 plus agents. Tell us about that chapter.
Okay, so started my career Coldwell Banker, went to an strong independent in the Phoenix area, and then went to Keller Williams, learned a ton there, was there for about a year and a half. And then I broke off Keller Williams with a partner, two partners, and we started Solutions Real Estate, which was the dominant independent brand in Arizona for many, many years. It's still well known. I still own the brand, even though I'm at a different company now. I still kept the ownership of the brand. So we built that to 320 agents in Phoenix, and we also had 100 agents in Carlsbad, California. And so we ended up selling to Century 21, and the Phoenix, I kept the California operation and opened an escrow company. It was profitable. Had since we sold the mothership, we dropped down to like 40 agents. I was rebuilding along with running my team in Arizona and in California.
Wow.
And during that time frame, I just lost, like, you kind of hit peaks and valleys. I was in a valley. And I was just like, why am I building a brokerage again? Because I knew the profitability. and it's great for a certain amount of time frame, but it didn't align with my goals anymore. And so I ended up, joining EXP Realty, and didn't look back. I loved it. I loved the model. I was after revenue share. I wasn't necessarily after the stock, even though that turned into a big, huge blessing. And that's how I transitioned. And out of all of that experience, the last 7 years of my career has been the most fun in my career that I'm having. And so that's kind of the fast
Wow.
track of where I'm at today.
Wow. And, managing thousands of transactions a year. I mean, I get it. I had 800 agents in the Cleveland market, and you're right. You started over and said, "Why am I doing this again?" There's a runway of profit, and then it starts to work backwards. And no truer statement. And I like how you worded it that way, because it just doesn't end up making sense. And the stress and the cost and the liability and all of that only gets bigger. It does not, get smaller, and it costs more money. I love it. So you were doing a lot of REOs throughout your career,
Yep.
and
Will do.
yeah, and still do. Anyone out there who's trying to break into REO, what would be your suggestion on how they could do that? Just because you have so much experience with REOs.
The easiest advice I could give somebody is you've got to go to the conferences and meet people, and not just meet the asset managers, but meet the executives and also meet the agents, because it is a relationship business even there. Right. Like, so if you look at an agent's regular business, 70% of the transactions are coming from their sphere of influence. And so, you should focus on your sphere of influence. It's the foundation of your business. That's never going to change. And so building a sphere of influence at REO conferences is a wise thing to do. It's just like if you're working probate, build a sphere of influence around all the attorneys. And so if you think about it in those aspects of what pillars of business am I wanting to add to my life and my career, and what do I have time for? Do I want to travel to different states and conferences? And if I don't, or I don't have time because of kids or because of lifestyle or whatever the case may be, then maybe it's not the right business for you. It's very task oriented. It's very team oriented type of business. And so there's pros and cons to that. When I was doing everything by myself years ago, then it was very, very limited. But when I had staff to help with, broker price opinions and vacancy checks and weekly inspections and all of the management tasks, it's a lot more fun for you as the agent
Yeah,
when you have a team around you.
absolutely. And it's definitely one of the pillars you just said. I mean, if that's something someone wants to pursue, and I'm glad you mentioned, probate too. That's another. That's a really good market for people to expand their business in. So you join EXP, and you are now building something pretty amazing. And before we get into what that looks like, I know there are agents struggling after the last 2 years, right? They're solo agent, or they're a team leader. We've got all kinds of. You have a lot of experience with both. What would you tell team leaders right now who are trying to scale, trying to put the right combination of lead generation and value proposition to their team? What could you get? What good advice could you give them? Maybe something you did that worked really well, or something that is a mistake they're making that they can stop making.
Sure. Okay, so keep learning, keep having your mind open to new ways and new people is a benefit to your business. And I say that because I still go to conferences. I still, like, I just bought, my hotel room for, one of our conferences at EXP Con in Salt Lake at the end of the year. I think it's first week of October. I'm going there to learn, right? I'm going to go there, see a bunch of friends and people. I'm going there to learn. Secondarily, hopefully I'll meet a bunch of people, get referrals for the markets that I'm in and stuff. I'm still going with the intention to learn. And I think that's really important. Also, I'm highly leveraged, but I know how to do everything so I can explain it and I can think through the process. And so that goes with, using ChatGPT or Gemini or some of these AIs that your staff is using. You have to start playing with that too in order to perfect it and maybe have an intelligent discussion with your staff of how to do it better and how to do it faster. And so rather than always just give the task away, you've got to understand what's going on with it. And the same thing with lead generation, or a lot of people just rely on third-party companies for lead generation. Well, that is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it leverages your time. But if you don't know how they're generating the leads, how can you perfect it better? Because they're just trying to generate a number of leads. They're not necessarily trying to generate a number of highly, highly qualified, ready to go leads. And then the next thing, so if you can figure out the lead generation on how your team's going to operate online, how about in person? How many open houses are you requiring your team to hold and then bring into the funnel, right? Top of funnel, people that are looking for homes. And that means making sure that they're signing in. What's the incentive for somebody to sign in? Well, most people don't want to sign in. Okay, well, because there's no incentive for them to sign in. What if you said, okay, we're offering free movie tickets for every single person that signs in? And the movie tickets are, I think, $12 or something like that. Maybe they're 15. So would you take somebody's contact information for $30 rather than not get it? So you have to think about this a little bit differently, of saying everybody that we come into contact with is a potential buyer or it's a potential referral source. And so think about every single process that you have running your team and think about how to perfect that. And so the first, problem of every team is how many leads are we generating? Do we have enough leads? So that's number one. Number two is conversion. How do we convert these leads that we're getting? And so then it goes to communication. How are we communicating with these leads in order to pull out what it is that they're wanting? Or they just want to look at pretty houses, on Facebook, right? If you're generating Facebook leads. Well, how do we improve the leads? Call to actions. That's why we'll buy your house, for cash. Those type of leads are pretty appealing. Well, what are the objections that come with that? The objections are, I don't want to pay commissions. I want easy, smooth transactions, so I'm not going to deal with a real estate agent. I think I can, get a full price offer for whatever Zillow says my house is going to be, right? So we already know some of these things that are on their mind. So how do we educate the consumers when they come in, when that lead comes in, to get on our side, right? And how do we start building that trust and then the relationship? So I would think, for a lot of team leaders, and there's a lot of team leaders out there that are struggling because they're not training their people. They're assuming that they're trained. Now, this is a huge red flag in the industry. The business today is not like it was 3 or 4 years ago when we just answered the phone, we sold a house, we made money. The team made money, right? And so the red flag is the egos, right? And I say that with a grain of salt because they had an ego that was probably deserved during the time frame. And now it's deflated because they're frustrated. They're trying to make money. They're trying to pay their bills and, still have a life with their families and all that stuff. But the missing link is, how do I get the agents on my team back into training, back into the basics, and how do I teach them how to communicate? Well, the team leader has to start communicating with them and then showing them how to do it and reporting their own activities with those agents. So like last week, I set 3 listing appointments for my agents.
Yeah.
Now, what does that show them? That shows them I'm leading. I'm good at converting the lead, right? And I'm willing to help them in their business. right? I'm leading by example. Now, are they going to raise their hand and say, well, teach me what you're doing to convert the leads? A lot of them won't do that. So I have to ask for permission. I have to say, Sherri, would it be okay if I shared with you what I said to convert the lead?
Yeah.
And so when their mind is open, they're like, yeah, I want to know that. I want to get better at my job. And so when their mind's open, they're going to listen, they're going to implement. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the speed of the leader, you, team leader, determines the rate of the pack, the speed of the sales agents on your team. And it is by example. If you're not doing what they should be doing, you set the tone. You completely set the tone, and they're going to say, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That is leadership. Leadership is action, and it's not a title. It's literally showing people. I love that you just said all of that. And the lead generation tactics and the plan. And it's one thing to have leads, it's another thing to convert them. We see lots of bottlenecks and conversion rate failure where we're not holding people accountable by saying, how many times you call that lead? Do you have the right script? Do you know what to say? And do you need coached? And coaching teams all over the country. It's also like they don't know how to convert leads. They also don't know how to get price reductions because they never had to. Another area that's a struggle is, the after sale home inspection process has also kind of been a point of, deals falling apart because no one had to deal with an appraisal or a inspection when we were selling houses with 27 offers. So these areas, look at your business. I think what you're telling team leaders is coach and train and fill the gaps where people just aren't performing, and then ultimately lead by example. I love it.
Let me add one more thing,
Of course.
Sherri, that this is so impactful for team leaders out there. Don't just do everything over Zoom and over the phone. Go take them to lunch one-on-one. Go take them to coffee. Go set an appointment with them, however you want to do it. Because there's something important about the relationship, the care, the empathy, the trust that is built when you're belly to belly, that is so impactful when you're leading a team. And you, even though you can operate, on Zoom and everybody, doesn't have time and all that stuff. I understand all that stuff. I love to operate that way, but there's so much lost in transition, of just through text and everything. Get them on the phone, get them face to face, and then get belly to belly at least once a month. And if you can do that, you're going to build a better culture, because most of the agents out there, they're striving for excellence of what they know how to do, but they're never going to tell you everything unless you're in person. So think about that.
It's so true. 55% of communication is body language. And, 38% is tone of voice and cadence. And we're texting and emailing and wondering why we're going backwards. And it just face to face builds the culture. Culture builds productivity. Productivity follows culture. And it doesn't work the other way around. It will follow a thriving winning team because of you. And, there is, to me, everyone here is like, can we meet? We need to meet in person. And yes, we do it every week because we have new listings to share. We have, I need a house. I have buyers and I need listings. And so we collaborate by being together. And you're 150% right that it's you said belly to belly, and it's personal. And that commitment and time you spend is so valuable in creating a relationship long-term. Retention, if you're a team leader, for those agents to stay and get value from you. Great stuff. My gosh. And I hope, if you're looking at, I just had this situation happen with a team leader who's had some, information delivered via text, via, email, and it was all misunderstood, and it's breaking the relationship, and I'm watching it. And so it's a good moment to say, you know what? Do a happy hour, get people to the office, do a mastermind together, like get everybody in. I love it. I think it's great. If you're a solo agent, like we have solo agents right now, I wouldn't say they're floundering, but they're really trying to have a comeback year. And what best pieces of advice can you give an agent who's like wants to double their transaction count or double their income? What would you tell them?
Okay. I think everything goes two different ways. One, I think your schedule has to be dialed in, and you have to dial back some of the personal lifestyle things that we all are accustomed to over the last few years, 5, 6, 7 years, right? Because the market's been fantastic, and then the last couple of years have been a little bit down. But we've all been used to, let's say, if you're not a buyer's agent, you're a listing agent, weekends off and like evenings, you're shutting your phone off at 6 o'clock in the evening or whatever. And I think you're losing some opportunities there, just by not having an ironclad schedule of like 2 hours minimum a day prospecting. And so like when I was on the phones, I was calling expireds and FSBOs. I really didn't like FSBOs. I was always going after expireds, and I'd be on the phones at 7 a.m. Now it's like, I think the law is at 8 o'clock in the morning is okay. And being on the phones from 8 to 10 and then again at 4 to 6 might solve some problems for the agent. The next thing is think about like the personality style and the habits and what you're comfortable in doing, what you're excited about doing. And let's use this as an example. Let's say that you have or you are a expressive personality, and you are the life of the party. You love going to parties, you love going to networking events and mix and mingles, and you're at the Chamber of Commerce and you know everybody and you are having a great time, but you've never built your database, right? And this happens a lot with expressives. Okay. And so this is so common.
It is.
So I think that you either have to hire a VA or have a team take care of some of this stuff for you, and you will thrive. You'll do so much better. And so think about hiring a VA. So if you hired a VA for under $1,000 a month, if you can afford that, then you met somebody at the Chamber of Commerce mixer, or you met 5 people, and you immediately snap picture of their business card if they have it, or you send it to the VA real time, or you send the email so it goes into the database. Like the database is the foundation. And think about how to outsmart yourself. And I'm sharing this because I coach some other agents in the industry that this has solved their problem. And so the other piece of that was hire a coach or hire a team. Think about the team of like, no, I'm not going to give that team my money of 30%, 40%, whatever it is. I don't know what team splits are, out there. But I would assume the team's going to be 70-30 on your deals and 50-50 on their deals or something like that. Maybe it's 85-15, whatever it is. And think about, you're hiring them to keep you organized. You're hiring their staff. You're hiring them to do the paperwork, and you're in control because it's your business. And as long as you're doing your job, which is going to meet people and to put them in your database and then to follow up. And if you're not good at follow up, then you've got to hire the team to follow up for you or the VA. So think about how to outsmart yourself in some of those aspects. If you're an analytical person that does not like to go out there and be the center of attention, then we've got to hack your system. And meaning if you're awesome at pulling comps, if you're awesome in front of people that are, wanting to list property, and then it's just a matter of adding scripts and dialogue and getting really comfortable with having those conversations, we can add in some of those, expressive personality traits, because everybody has them. It might be on your fourth, trait, but you can work on that over the course of time. But if you don't think about having those as part of the plan, then you're never going to implement it. You're never going to get better. So I always look at, if I'm, trying to build something, I'm trying to build a very productive agent and with their strengths and weaknesses. And then the last thing I'll say on that is, if you just double or triple or quadruple down on your strengths and hire out your weaknesses, you're going to thrive. even in today's market.
It's so good. And database is the number one offender of everyone. And, that CRM is really, I renamed it to continuous referral machine
Yeah,
because
I
it's
love
really
that.
what it is. And it's like, you can't have, I'm talking to you, agent, you know who you are. Like, you can't have part of it in your phone, part of it on a spreadsheet, part of it in a CRM that you don't use. It's got to be a direct, intentional goal to say, I'm going to fix that this year and I'm going to put everybody, because that will solve, you said it, that will solve a lot of your problems. It will help you increase your referrals. It will help you increase repeat business. And wow, I loved, and I have to echo this because I've never heard it said like this, hire a team, which is go join a team on purpose, because they come with an entire team that you can either plug into their team and it's automatic and not have to train someone. You literally plug into a team that's already got proven systems, and wow. And we just saw some statistics that showed agents on teams are actually more successful than not being on team. Doesn't mean if you're a solo agent and you're crushing it, keep doing it. But for some of you out there that are like a team concept, joining a team on purpose and looking at it like, you know what, I'm paying for this because I would have to pay for it anyway. I love how you phrase that. It's a really great way to look at it. And I do love that you said 8 to 10 and 4 to 6 on the call days, because you have to prioritize lead generation.
Well, Sherri, the reason why I said that, I gave 2 different times, because a lot of times we're trying to fit prospecting around our schedule. And if the calls aren't being connected with people and we're getting too many people that are just not answering, which is very common, will they answer in the evening? And if they'll answer in the evening, guess when our prospecting should be, right? It should be in the evening. So then can we schedule family time in the morning? Can we schedule gym time in the morning? Can we schedule some of this stuff and flip the script of our habits? I mean, the habits are the hardest things to break. Can we flip the script on some of this stuff so we can make it more convenient for the people out there that we want to talk to? Because they have all the same habits, right?
It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, we're calling, no one's answering. You need a new call time and flip it to the evening. So good. Love everything you've said. I want to talk about, like, you've had tremendous success. You're building something amazing. You're changing lives. You talked about revenue share, the stock that came later. I heard that at eXp Realty. And so describe for someone who doesn't know what that means or what eXp Realty has done for you and why you're so passionate about it.
So like I said before, is I joined eXp because of the revenue share aspect, because that in agents, and I'll share this because a lot of people will relate to this. And a lot of people are against rev share. They don't understand it. And so let me bring this in perspective. An agent goes into the real estate business to replace income or to build a career that they're having fun with. And eventually they get burnt out from working nights and weekends. And then they start a team. And when they start a team, they're excited about it. They get a buyer's agent, they have an office person to do all the paperwork, and they start generating more leads. And then when that becomes successful, they're going to grow it into a mid-sized team, and then a big team, then a mega team. And then when they get to the mega team status, they're not satisfied a lot of times. And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to open my own brokerage. And which is totally okay. And because they're at that level. And that's a great learning experience, opening your own brokerage. Profitability as you grow and as you get bigger shrinks in all of those aspects. From my experience, all the way to 420 agents, right? And we were doing thousands of transactions closed per year. And so it's for myself, it was a great learning lesson. But could I have shortened the track record, right? Could I shorten the learning curve by listening to other people that have done it and know what you're after? And so most people are after income and more free time. They want freedom. And so when you look at EXP as a platform, it's a real estate brokerage, yes. It's a platform that agents and team leaders and brokerage owners can plug into and still do all the cool stuff that they love to do. And they can hire EXP, the platform, to do all the stuff they don't want to do. They don't want to do the HR. They don't want to be responsible for checks. They don't want to have to come up with all the new technology stuff. They don't want to have to do all the meetings all the time. They hire the platform in order to solve some of your problems. And you get paid for introducing people to the company, right? The platform. And so that's all that is. And when I look at the real estate business today, most agents want to work with their friends. They want to work with the people that are their production level and higher, and they want a career growth plan, and they've got to be around the movers and shakers in order to do that, whether it's online, whether it's in a community, all that stuff. And so EXP has solved a lot of those problems, and they continue to solve those problems to all kinds of production levels. I mean, up to, I think, I don't know exactly how many thousands of homes some of these teams have sold, but they're doing it under the EXP platform. And so when you look at your business, you're adding a revenue share because you're going to work with your friends anyway. They're going to work at some company anyway. And wouldn't you want to help them with a platform opportunity to solve some of their problems? And I don't promote EXP rev share for everybody. I think they should look at it and see if it's for them, or see how they could start building some of the skills that are required to build a big organization, stuff like that. It's leadership and some tenacity and all that stuff, but it's all the same skills as a listing agent would have. It's all the same skills as a dedicated buyer's agent that's really efficient at converting, buyers into contracts. It's all the same skills. And so if you have those, you can build a revenue share piece of it. And I say piece of it because you can do that with just 1 to 2 hours a week. And so the heavy lifting is going to be done by the people in your organization, and you don't have to invent the wheel. You can just profit off of that because the company will pay you to introduce your friends to the company. And so is that a good explanation?
It is. And I want to highlight, having you're losing, you said, as the profit shrinks, as you want to build this thing you've built, you spend years, people spend decades. I've done this 30 years. It's like, an EXP platform allows you to have all the benefits of being a broker without having to be a broker, and to actually lose, you don't have to worry about compliance, accounting, risk, cost, liability. I mean, it is really brilliant. It's a brilliant model.
Well, and then Sherri, let me give a couple more examples, because a lot of people don't know this part of this company. Is like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. I sold 16 houses in the Phoenix area from the REO department, from EXP. It was top down, right? I mean, the company, the platform, EXP, gave me those listings, and then I ended up selling those, right? So I don't know what the volume was. There was some referral fees and all that stuff, but that company generated that business. Currently, my team has a listing we just got through the relocation department. And I think, I can't remember the company, the actual relocation company, but it's a very well-known name, that we interviewed for the listing with the homeowners. They chose us, and that business was top down, right? So, and then here's another thing. We sold last year a $1.2 million house to a buyer, a relocation. The gentleman, I think, worked for the federal government, and that came through the relocation department. And then currently we've got a $750,000 buyer through that relocation also. So this is current top-down business. Top-down business, a couple of years ago, that was pretty massive. And so when you look at the company, it's a platform of opportunity. So we have express offers, we have relocation, we have REO, we have the Revenos program. We've got a lot of different things going on. EXP there was a company in Canada called, I think it was called, I can't remember. It's equivalent to Zillow up there in like Toronto or something like that. I'll think of it in a second. But they bought this company that was equivalent to a Zillow up there, and that generates leads for the Canadians, in that marketplace. And so the company has probably $100 million plus of infrastructure that is built into this company. It's not just agents recruiting people. That's all false. It is a small amount of people introducing people to the company to solve those broker owners, those team leaders, and those agents' problems. And that has generated over 80,000 agents at the company, right? But we're solving agents and team leaders and brokerage owners' problems that they don't want to do. And that is part of that platform. So I don't know if you knew that. So I wanted to share that with you.
I'm glad you went into Revenos and the lead gen. We have 80 hours of coaching, training, masterminds in EXP University. I've never seen the collaboration like this without competition. It really is unbelievable. Not to mention, you mentioned lead generation, but the stock and, people literally hitting icon and being able to, get their cap back in stock. Can you explain that just for a moment? Because that's a pretty unique thing that.
Yeah. And so
Crazy.
I didn't even join the company because of the stock at all. It was like, I'm not a stock guy, I'm a real estate guy. Right. So I didn't even fathom what that was. And even to this day, like it made me a lot of money. I've sold a lot of it and I still have a lot of it. And over this next 10-year, in my career, the next 10 years, I'm going to be collecting the stock because that's going to be another revenue source for me in 10 years from now when I sell it. And so that's just part of my personal plan. And I think it's going to be, quadruple what it is today. And so it's a unseen savings account, so to speak, wealth builder. And I'm still excited about that. So when you bring on an agent or you refer an agent to the company and they close their first deal, you get stock in the company. And I'm not going to talk about, all the numbers. I'll talk about EXP icon stock here. And all the other ones are irrelevant, for this podcast, but we can get into details later. When they close their first deal, you get stock. The agent gets stock in the company. That means every agent that has closed a transaction with EXP is a shareholder in the company, which is fantastic. That means we're all part of something that is important to everybody. That binds us for collaboration, that binds everybody to, be good at what they're doing and to help the company grow. The next piece is when you cap, you get stock. And for saying thank you, hey, you capped, congratulations, here's some more stock. You're more of a shareholder in this company now. And so then the next level would be when you icon. Now the icon is like a home run. The icon, you get $12,000 worth of stock. Plus, if you go to the EXPCon conference, and if you go to the online, which used to be in person, you go to the online shareholders meeting, it's on like Zoom or something, then you get $2,000 worth of stock. So you can get up to $16,000 worth of stock, which you pay in $16,000 to the company. So you're getting pretty much all of your money back in stock. Now there's vesting periods and stuff like that, that every year it vests more and more, which is fantastic. That helps the retention of the company. It also helps the retention of your teams and your agents and the brokerages that do join us. But what it's doing is helping the agents build wealth for their careers. And like we touched on earlier that my grandparents were real estate agents. My dad was a real estate agent. Well, they didn't buy enough real estate. Okay. And so they should have bought 100 rentals, right? I haven't bought 100 rentals yet, but but most real estate agents haven't bought enough rentals. They haven't bought stock. They haven't contributed into their 401k because they're busy making a living, raising kids, trying to have a life and all that stuff in this crazy business. And so the stock over the course of time adds up tremendously. So think about all the real estate agents that we all know that have been in the real estate business for 10, 20, 15, 30 years. And if they had an extra 100, 200, $300,000 worth of stock when they decided to retire, would that help them? Absolutely. I know it would have helped my dad. I know it would have helped my grandparents. And so I think that the stock is a blessing, and it's one of the biggest things that is transforming the industry, along with the pillar of revenue from the revenue share side, along with that every agent out there should be looking at. And so the legacy companies, or all these other companies now under Compass or Berkshire Hathaway, or some of these large independents, they're great companies. They wouldn't be in business if they weren't great companies. But if they don't have a component of stock where you can compound that over the next 10 or 15 years, 5 years, that you're going to be in the business, then you're losing that type of money for your family and for your retirement. So it's okay to be a little bit selfish and start thinking a different way in order to set yourself up 5 or 10 years from now.
You did such a great job articulating that whole thing. And I will add to it that, people, they don't realize that even their 6 or 7% franchise fee that they're paying, they can put that into stock here and have that money going into that, again, the 401k nobody has. It's just a radically different way. And I want to echo too, you said everybody has an ownership stake in the company, which means we're invested in this. And it takes on what I love, the term partnership. We're partners. And it's so different and it's so great. The legacy brands, while they are great, can't offer this. It's just a change that has dramatically disrupted the industry. Like Amazon, I mean, it literally is that big of a difference. So I love that. What would you say to someone who's looking at, if they're going to look at where they should continue to partner with their brokerage? Should they take a look at EXP? Should they look at all their options? Obviously you're at EXP and I am as well. And we believe in this platform. But how does somebody even think about change on this type of level? Because it's, for some people, they've been at their companies 15 plus years. How would you recommend that someone even think about looking at making a change?
When I was growing my independent, nobody could have talked me out of growing my independent during that time frame. So I get it.
Sense,
when I was at 100% company, an independent 100% company, it was called First USA Realty in Arizona, and I loved the company. It was cool. I had friends there, and we used to go to happy hours and all that stuff, and nobody could talk me out of that. And so I think everybody's journey has to start with, what do I want out of this business? And who can help me grow to the next level over the course of the next, 3 to 5 years? And then I want to stop there, and I want you to think a little bit bigger. I want you to think about, how can I get to that next level in 6 months, right? Who's done it already, and who can help me do it within 6 months? And then, do I have the time to do it? Because a lot of people they don't have the time. Maybe it's not in their season of life right now, but I guarantee you that somebody in the country, in US, in the world, is waking up saying, I want a better life. And how do I get it? Who can I partner with in order to show me the way and to help teach me some of these skills and at least guide me to the next level? Because there is another level. And so I would suggest that people just they have to get out of their own way. They have to think bigger. And even though it's good, how can we get great? It's like I have a fantastic marriage. I love my life. I'm always thinking, what's the next level? How can I improve my relationship with my wife? How can I improve my relationship with my kids? And we already have a great relationship, right? It's good. But how do I get to that next level? And so you have to find other people and other ways in order to get to that next level and to improve the unknown. So think about that.
Yeah. And I heard Pete Middleton say, you got to make a move to get ahead. And it feels scary at first. EXP aligned with every single thing as my coaching company, alongside my coaching company, but I'm already building. And it just is so bigger than anyone could imagine. I think that, my advice is just have an open mind and learn something. Everything I thought I knew, I was dead wrong, or I didn't even know. I just didn't know it was what it is. And that's what's so great about it is, a movement, and it's going to be, it's a game changer for people for sure. And it is truly the most agent-centric model I've seen. I've coached for every company in the country, and this really is and has been a fabulous conversation. Thank you. And so many great tips. Will you come back? I'm going to have you on again. Brent Conley, who's built an amazing over 1,800 people in every state and multiple countries. You are always adding value everywhere you go. And it's just so great to be partners with you personally, and also to have you in my tribe of collaborative leaders that are helping build this thing and helping change lives. Because that's really, I know we're both passionate about that. Your wife's amazing. Rebecca's amazing. And my 2 kids are getting their real estate licenses too. You mentioned, I don't think I told you, but yeah, one's in high school, one's in college. The high schooler is like, he's already signed his join app. Like he's like, and he can get his diploma and then he takes the test. So it is so great to have you on, learn more about you. If you want to reach out to Brent Conley, he is in San Diego. He is in Scottsdale half the year, and also in San Diego. Find him. We'll put all of his social channels on this podcast. Please connect with Brent for referrals, for advice, to hear about what we're doing. And it's been a great pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sherri. Appreciate it.
Good. All right, everybody. So that wraps up today's episode. Stay tuned for more. Like us. Give me a 5-star review, please. Share this podcast with a friend and connect with us at sherrijohnson.com. And I can't wait. Brent, I'm going to see you in a couple weeks in Cabo.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Sherri Johnson Show. If today's episode gave you a breakthrough or an aha moment, please take action. And don't forget, you can grab your free download of the Sherri Johnson Goldmine Pipeline in the link below and start seeing results right away. Want even more personalized support? Book a free strategy call with our team, or check out our coaching program starting at just $49 a month at sherrijohnson.com. Remember, it takes 5 contacts to get a yes, but with the right strategy, you can get there faster. Let's turn your potential into profits. I'm Sherri Johnson, and I'll see you next week.